Most procurement team manage hundreds or even thousands of suppliers, but they're flying blind. So who is hurting our supplier performance? Where is the cash leaking? And which supplier do we prioritize to negotiate with? The data is there in your ERP system, but the answers are not. Back then, to have the answer to these would take days or even weeks of hard work. By then, it is last quarter's problem. In this video, I will show you using capability of Celonis, we can find the answers to these within just a few clicks. So let me show you. So start at the top. Across 238 suppliers with more than 2,000 purchase orders, we're seeing most of the time things arrived in full, around 97%. But on time, barely half. And the same goes for the most important metrics of a supplier delivery performance. The on time in full is also only about 50%. So sit with that for a second. Half of everything that you've ordered does not arrive complete or on schedule. That is not a logistic hiccup. That is sales orders not fulfilled. That is production delay, excess inventory, and also firefighting with countless emails or Excel sheets every single day. It also shows us this is not a recent underperformance. On the left panel, we're seeing the performance over time. In full is relatively healthy and stays up top, but on time, that's what drags everything down throughout the year, consistently around 50 to 60%. The problem is you cannot fix the 50%, at least not in one go. It is an average across all your suppliers. So you need to prioritize, fixing the specific ones that is costing you the most. And the first job of a supplier scorecard is not to tell you numbers, but also to tell you where to look. That is why this table below shows you a drill down of all your suppliers based on your total spend with them and also their performance sitting right next to it. And to find your biggest financial exposure, we can simply rank them by their total spend for the past year. And just like so, now we can see clearly which one of your largest relationships are also the least reliable. Right away, we found a priority. The third on the list, we're seeing an overlap of high spend of close to 1 million a year and low OTIF, less than 50% for the past year, and more than 20 materials with high minimum order quantity that potentially force you to overbuy. And also in terms of a less favorable payment term, we're seeing, well, in this case, expressed in days to pay at 0 days. And lastly, we see 2 materials that had more than 10% price increases since last year. So this should definitely be on your top priority for your next supplier negotiation. And now we found it within just one scroll. So let's open this one up and see what is really going on. And now we're seeing everything about a single supplier in one screen. Now a lazy dashboard would just simply mark everything red and move on. But this one is more honest and comprehensive. We're seeing on-time in full rate less than 50% with a target of 95. That is not great, but notice the green small arrow on the right side. That is the trend for the past year. So we're actually seeing an improvement of more than 8% year over year. So there wasn't really a free fall in the supplier's performance. Rather, it is a bad number that is slowly improving. And knowing this direction changes your tone in a room. You're walking in to reinforce the progress rather than starting a riot act. Delivery performance is only one of your leverages. So look at the rest. On the right side, we're seeing 20 materials with minimum order quantity being too high that can force you to overbuy. And this number jumped by 13 in the past year. So that is the flag that you should grab right away. Lowering the MOQ of these materials can help improving both your inventory and cash flow health. And for payment terms, they had you on pay immediately against a 60-day target. And price increases, however, across 76 materials, only 2 increased for more than 10% for the past year, which is moderate. So already before I dive into any further detail, the tool has already pointed me at a real problem. High MOQ and bad payment terms, the low but slowly improving OTIF rate, and also it tells me you probably don't want to spend too much effort and energy trying to negotiate better prices. So the question is not really if this supplier is good or bad. It becomes more where exactly are they underperforming and what caused them. And these 2 buttons below answers those questions further. On the left side, it is on OTIF performance, and on the right side is the contract term. So let's take them in order. A bad performance score is a kickstart to our conversation, but the evidence is the one that backing it up and make it go through. With this view, it shows you a twist that you might have missed if you're only looking at aggregated KPIs such as the OTIF rate. So looking at the average delay, 4 days, and the worst delay being 13 days. Honestly, that's not too bad. But on the other side, when you look at the average early at 15 days, and the worst one yet, an early delivery of 150 days. That's inventory sitting for half a year, dumped at you all at once before you even find any use of it. So your cash is frozen, your warehouse is full, and the shelf life is ticking down. The OTIF problem here is not that they're slow, but it's that they cannot hit the right date from both directions. And the more expensive side is the early deliveries. And in this PO item breakdown table underneath, this is exactly what's backing you up in the negotiation. And each one of these PO items are also visible in the scatter plot above. And in this scatter plot, it shows you the actual lead time of the purchase order item against the confirmed lead time that you agreed upon with the supplier. And consistent with what we were seeing earlier, we're seeing way more early deliveries than late deliveries in the scatter plot. And for example, in this case, we're seeing a confirmed lead time of 193 days, but the actual lead time being only 54 days. So from here, in your negotiation, you're not walking in with a feeling or a simple aggregated KPI like the OTIF. You're walking in with every single purchase orders you've made, its confirmed delivery date, the actual receipt date, and the days in between. And of course, every other information that's available. See the blue on the left side? Just like how we click into the supplier scorecard, we can click into this and see more specifically to this purchase order. But for now, let's not overwhelm us with even more information on this, and let's go back and check out the contract terms. So this is where it gets interesting. Besides what we saw earlier, materials with high minimum order quantity and also price increases, we also see that the total year-on-year actual cost due to their price changes is actually minus 250K. So on price, the supplier has actually saved you money in a way for the past year. It is $250,000 less than what would have cost you if the price remained the same. So the supplier scorecard is not here to just make every supplier look bad. If you walk into this negotiation swinging at their prices, you will burn your leverages on one thing that they're doing right. So the real issue is over here. As what we saw earlier, there are 20 materials with high MOQ. Here we find these materials based on the MOQ lead time multiplier. And the definition of the MOQ multiplier can be found here, simply hovering over this column in the table. So this multiplier is derived based on the ratio of how many months of forecasted demand a single minimum order quantity covers relative to the supplier's lead time that was agreed upon. In this case, any value above 1 indicates the MOQ is potentially set too high that will force you to overbuy. And on the left side, we can find these materials categorized based on the MOQ multiplier. The green bar on the left is healthy, but the 2 in the middle shows you the potentials to negotiate. In this case, to find the 5 materials with more than 20 times the MOQ multiplier, we can simply using the interactive feature, click on this column and apply the filter. And here it is, the 5 material with extremely high MOQ multipliers. And looking on the left side in the blue hyperlink, we can again go into the material and find out more about this. But similar to the purchase order items, I will not click into this. If you wish to know further detail, feel free to book a demo. Let's go back to the main page. One thing that's really easy to skip, but matters enormously, is that every score on this screen is customized based on your business context. So you can define what counts as on time. So looking on the right side, we have a set of filter bar. You can filter specific to your needs based on the purchase order creation date, the goods receipt date, and of course, based on the supplier dimensions, their characteristics such as their country, or based on the buyer group that your procurement team is assigned to. So you define what is considered as on time based on the quantity delivery tolerance. You define what counts as in full by adjusting the quantity delivery tolerance, which is the percentage deviation allowed from the quantity that you ordered. And you can of course adjust the definition of your in full by adjusting the grace period for late delivery and early delivery. In this case, we set the grace period at 5 days for both late delivery and early delivery. This means anything within 5 days too late or within 5 days too early is still considered as on time. So when this supplier scorecard tells you a supplier is failing, it is not telling you based on a general industry benchmark. It is specific to your business context and to your contracts that's agreed upon with the suppliers. And this is what makes the number defensible when you walk into a room and put a number in front of the suppliers. So that is the whole loop. You start with your entire supplier base and filter out the suppliers that actually matter. You dive into one and you see everything about it on a single screen. You find out what is failing and what is going well with as much detail as you need specific to each material or even each purchase order items. So if you want to see this running on your supplier data, click the link below and book a demo. And if you like this video, make sure to leave a thumbs up and subscribe. See you next time.